Movies taught us that criminals are masterminds. Real life proves otherwise. We have compiled 101 verified cases where burglars left behind everything from their birth certificates to their own children. If you ever feel unintelligent, just watch this. Here are 101 dumbest things criminals forgot at crime scenes. 1. Imagine robbing a house and accidentally leaving your full professional history on the kitchen counter. One burglar in Brooklyn dropped a folder containing his resume, complete with his photo, work experience, and references. He literally applied for the position of inmate number 1 and got hired immediately. 2. Social media addiction is real, folks. Nicholas Wigg broke into a home, logged into his own Facebook account on the victim's computer, and then forgot to log out. The homeowner came back, saw a stranger's profile open, and posted a status update from the burglar's account. Police didn't even have to search. 3. Loading the getaway car with thousands of dollars in stolen goods is useless if you lock your keys inside the house you just robbed. That is exactly what happened to a thief in Massachusetts. He had to flee on foot, leaving his registered vehicle and his freedom sitting right in the driveway. 4. Nothing ruins a tough criminal image like losing your teeth. During a struggle with a homeowner, a burglar's dentures popped right out of his mouth. He managed to escape, but he left his smile behind. Police ran the DNA from the false teeth and identified him before he could even book a dentist appointment. 5. Medical privacy doesn't cover clumsy criminals. A burglar dropped his own prescription bottle in the middle of a heist. The label clearly displayed his full name, address, and pharmacy details. Police didn't need a detective. They just read the bottle and drove to his house to deliver a refill of justice. 6. Most people keep their birth certificate in a safe, but one genius brought his along to a burglary. During the chaos of ransacking a jewelry store, his bag ripped open. He got away with some watches but left his actual government-issued proof of existence on the floor. It was the easiest game of Guess Who ever played. 7. You know that panic when you tap your pocket and your phone is gone? Now imagine that feeling after robbing a pawn shop. One criminal left his smartphone charging in the back room of the store he was robbing. The cops just waited for Mom to call and politely asked for his address. 8. Breaking the law while already in legal trouble takes special talent. A robber held up a convenience store and accidentally dropped a folder full of court documents from his previous arrest. The papers had his name, his lawyer's name, and his next court date. He didn't just leave a clue, he left his itinerary. 9. Adrenaline makes you do crazy things, like forgetting you need shoes to run. A burglar in a hurry got his foot stuck in a window frame and shimmied out of his sneaker to escape. He left behind a size 10 Nike with a custom orthopedic insole inside. The podiatrist's label led police straight to his door. Cinderella would be proud. 10. Writing a demand note is robbery 101, but paper choice matters. A man walked into a bank and handed the teller a threatening note written on the back of his own probation officer's business card. It had his next appointment time written on it. The FBI just showed up to the meeting and waited. 11. Burglary is exhausting work, apparently. A thief in England broke into a house, ate a snack, and decided to take a quick nap on the guest bed. The homeowners found him hours later, sound asleep and drooling on their pillows. The police wake-up call was probably the worst alarm clock he ever heard. 12. Most criminals wear masks, but one guy decided to wear a GPS ankle monitor. He was already on parole and forgot that the device tracks his exact location every single minute. Police just pulled up the data log and watched a digital dot move from the crime scene directly to his living room. 13. Leaving a wallet is a classic, but this guy raised the bar. He dropped his wallet mid-robbery, realized it, and actually came back to the scene to ask the victims if they had seen it. The police were already there taking statements. He literally walked up to the officers and identified himself as the owner of the evidence. 14. If you are going to break into a car, maybe don't cut yourself on the glass. A thief smashed a window, sliced his hand open, and bled all over the upholstery. He didn't leave an ID, but he left a perfect DNA sample that matched his record in the national database. His own blood cells testified against him. 15. Using your own personal check as a demand note is a bold strategy. A bank robber handed the teller a slip of paper that said, "Give me the money," written on the back of his own deposit slip. It had his name, account number, and home address printed on the front. The bank already had his money, now they have his mugshot. 16. Some criminals leave objects. This guy left a living witness. A burglar brought his dog along for a break-in, got spooked by an alarm, and ran, forgetting his furry friend. The police checked the dog's microchip, which was registered to the suspect. Man's best friend became the prosecution's star witness. 17. Ordering a getaway car is not like ordering an Uber. A robber hit a pharmacy and then called a taxi to pick him up from the crime scene. He gave the dispatcher his real name and told them to hurry. When the cab arrived, the driver was actually a police officer. 5 stars for prompt service, 0 stars for freedom. 18. Checking your balance is important, but not during a heist. A criminal stopped mid-burglary to use the victim's ATM card on their home computer to transfer money. He left the browser open with his own bank account details on the screen. He tried to steal thousands but only succeeded in donating his identity to the police. 19. A library card is great for checking out books, not for checking into jail. A thief dropped his public library card right next to the safe he was trying to crack. Police scanned the barcode, got his name, and probably fined him for the overdue books while they were arresting him. Knowledge really is power. 20. Taking a selfie at the crime scene is the peak of narcissism. A teenager stole an iPad and immediately used it to take photos of himself holding the stolen cash. The device automatically uploaded the pictures to the victim's iCloud account. The owner sat at home watching a slideshow of the thief posing with her money. 21. Tattoos are supposed to be personal, but not that personal. A robber covered his face with a bandana during a holdup, but forgot that his neck tattoo spelled out his last name in giant Gothic letters. The cashier didn't even need to describe his face. She just told the cops to look for a guy with Hernandez written on his throat. 22. Sweat is nature's fingerprint. A burglar wore gloves the entire time, wiped every surface clean, and felt like a criminal mastermind. Then he took his hat off to scratch his head and left it on the kitchen table. DNA from the sweatband inside matched his profile in the system. All that effort ruined by an itchy scalp. 23. Planning a robbery from your own email account is a bold move. 2 guys in Georgia used one of their personal Gmail accounts to coordinate a home invasion. They left the browser open on a library computer. A librarian noticed and called the cops, who read the entire crime plan like a bedtime story, complete with dates, targets, and addresses. 24. Some people leave their heart at the crime scene. This guy left his prosthetic leg. A one-legged burglar climbed through a window, detached his prosthetic to squeeze through, and then panicked when the alarm went off. He hopped away into the night, but his custom-fitted leg had a serial number that led straight back to his insurance provider. 25. Bringing your child to a robbery is bad parenting and worse strategy. A woman shoplifted thousands of dollars in merchandise while her toddler sat in the cart. She bolted when security approached but left the kid behind. The child was wearing a daycare shirt with the facility's name on it. Staff identified the mother within the hour. 26. Dropping your phone is annoying. Dropping it into the toilet of the house you are robbing is legendary. A burglar's phone slipped out of his pocket, splashed into the bowl, and he panicked and ran without it. Cops fished it out, dried it off, and unlocked it using his saved fingerprint. The phone was more cooperative than most witnesses. 27. Want to know what is dumber than robbing a store? Robbing a store where you filled out a job application 2 days earlier. A man held up a gas station at gunpoint, and the manager instantly recognized him from his recent interview. His application was still in the filing cabinet with his social security number on it. 28. Leaving a trail of snacks is like Hansel and Gretel for cops. A burglar got hungry mid-heist, opened a bag of Cheetos, and ate them while fleeing. He left a path of orange dust and dropped chips leading right to his front door. Police caught him literally orange-handed. 29. A getaway driver fell asleep waiting for his partner to finish the job. The partner came running out, banged on the car window, but the driver was out cold. Both men were still sitting in the parking lot when police arrived 8 minutes later. One was screaming, the other was snoring. Teamwork at its absolute finest. 30. Wearing a name tag from your workplace during a robbery is the criminal equivalent of introducing yourself. A man robbed a liquor store still wearing his McDonald's uniform, name tag and all. The cashier told the cops, "His name is Derek and he works at the McDonald's on 5th Street." Derek's shift ended early that night. 31. Google Maps tracks everywhere you go, and one burglar learned that the hard way. His girlfriend got suspicious, checked his location history, and found he had been at 3 different houses on the same night, none of which were his. She turned the data over to police. He didn't just get arrested, he also got dumped. 32. Leaving behind a paper trail is bad. Leaving behind an actual trail of stolen goods is worse. A robber's bag ripped open 2 blocks from the jewelry store, scattering rings and necklaces down the sidewalk. Cops just followed the breadcrumb trail of diamonds until they found him sitting on a bench, holding an empty bag and questioning his life choices. 33. A burglar climbed onto the roof to enter through a skylight. He made it inside, grabbed the cash register, and tried to climb back out. The register got stuck in the skylight opening. He got stuck on top of the register. The fire department had to cut both of them free while cops waited below with handcuffs and probably a few jokes. 34. Never pawn stolen goods at a shop that has cameras. A thief stole a rare guitar from a collector's home and sold it to a pawn shop the next morning. He showed his real ID for the transaction, smiled for the security camera, and signed the receipt with his legal name. The collector found his guitar listed online that same afternoon. 35. Forgetting your mask is one thing. Forgetting to delete the surveillance footage you starred in is another. A night shift employee robbed his own workplace, looked directly into the security camera multiple times, and never even thought about the DVR sitting in the back office. His manager watched the whole performance the next morning like it was a movie. 36. A car thief stole a vehicle and drove it straight to his probation meeting. His officer noticed the unfamiliar car, ran the plates, and discovered it had been reported stolen 40 minutes earlier. The thief drove himself to freedom and parked at the one place guaranteed to end it. That is what you call a self-delivering package. 37. Notes from your girlfriend should stay private, especially when they are tucked inside the ski mask you left at a crime scene. Police found a handwritten love letter inside the mask lining, signed with a nickname and a return address on the envelope. They tracked down the girlfriend, who gave up her boyfriend faster than he gave up that mask. 38. Leaving a cigarette butt at the scene used to be no big deal. Now it is basically mailing your DNA directly to the crime lab. A burglar chain smoked while clearing out an entire apartment, leaving 7 cigarette butts on the balcony. Each one confirmed the same guy. 7 butts, 7 chances to stay quiet, 7 times he chose nicotine over freedom. 39. A robber sprinted out of a jewelry store and jumped into what he thought was his buddy's car. It was not. It was an unmarked police cruiser with 2 detectives inside eating lunch. He threw himself into the back seat, yelled, "Go!" and then made eye contact with a badge. The look on his face probably deserved its own mugshot. 40. Hiding in the store after hours sounds smart until the motion sensors kick in. A man hid inside a department store bathroom until closing, then started filling garbage bags with merchandise. The alarm triggered instantly, locked every exit, and police arrived to find him trapped in the shoe section, surrounded by bags and absolutely nowhere to go. 41. Revenge is a dish best served stupid. A man keyed his ex-girlfriend's car and slashed her tires, but his Apple Watch recorded every step of his late-night trip to her apartment complex. She subpoenaed his health data in court, and the steps, heart rate spike, and GPS coordinates told the whole story. His own wrist betrayed him. 42. Robbing a pizza delivery driver is already low, but paying for the pizza first with your debit card takes it to another level. A guy ordered a large pepperoni, paid with his card when the driver arrived, then pulled a knife and took back the cash plus the driver's wallet. The transaction receipt was already in the system. Domino's delivered, and so did the police. 43. Handwriting analysis is old school, but it still works when you write your demand note on your kid's homework. A bank robber scribbled, "Give me all the money," on the back of a math worksheet that had his daughter's full name, school, and teacher written on the top. The teacher identified the handwriting as the father's. Parent-teacher conference took a dark turn. 44. Breaking into a car dealership and stealing a truck sounds profitable until you realize the vehicle has a built-in GPS tracker. The dealer watched the truck's location in real time from his phone, called the cops, and narrated the entire chase like a football commentator. The thief drove for 40 minutes thinking he was free. He was basically live-streaming his own arrest. 45. Don't rob cars in winter if you don't understand thermodynamics. A thief cleared snow off a car window to peek inside, pressing his bare hands against the glass. When the owner turned on the defroster later, the heat revealed perfect high-definition palm prints steamed onto the window for the police to photograph. 46. Glitter is the herpes of the craft world, and one burglar found out the hard way. He broke into a house where the owner made custom greeting cards. Glitter got everywhere, all over his clothes, his shoes, his hair. When police pulled him over for a traffic stop, 2 hours later, he looked like a disco ball with a criminal record. 47. Using your own car for a drive-by is already dumb, but having a personalized license plate that says "not guilty" is performance art. Witnesses didn't even need to remember the plate number. They just told police to look for the ironic one. He was found, and spoiler alert, the plate lied. 48. A burglar squeezed through a pet door to get inside a house and immediately got attacked by the homeowner's 3 cats. Scratches covered his face and arms, and in the chaos, his beanie fell off. The cats also knocked over a shelf that blocked his exit. Neighbors called the cops after hearing a grown man screaming for help against 8 pounds of fury. 49. Taking a bathroom break during a burglary is human. Forgetting to flush is disgusting, but leaving your DNA in the toilet of a crime scene is a full confession. Police collected the sample, ran it through the database, and matched it within a week. He left behind the most personal evidence physically possible. 50. Always check your pockets before committing a felony. A man robbed a convenience store and his inhaler fell out of his jacket onto the counter. It was a prescription inhaler with his name, dosage, and pharmacy printed right on the label. The cops picked it up, read the name, and had him in custody before he could even catch his breath. 51. Security cameras are everywhere now, but this criminal had a different problem. He wore a clear plastic bag over his head as a disguise. Not a ski mask, not a bandana, a see-through bag. Every feature of his face was perfectly visible on camera. He thought he was being clever. The jury thought otherwise. 52. Hiding stolen goods in your own front yard is not a strategy. A man stole a riding lawnmower from his neighbor 3 houses down and parked it next to his own garage. The neighbor walked his dog the next morning, saw his mower, and called the cops. The thief was still asleep. The mower traveled less distance than most people's morning commute. 53. Using a stolen credit card is risky. Using it at the same store you stole it from is suicidal. A pickpocket lifted a wallet inside a Target, then walked straight to the electronics section and bought a gaming console with the victim's card. The victim was still in the store, filing a report at customer service. Security just rewound the tape 15 minutes. 54. A bank robber tried to make his escape on a city bus. He sat down, sweating and clutching a duffel bag full of cash, and waited for the next stop. Problem is, city buses have fixed routes, security cameras, and GPS tracking. Police just called the transit authority and met him at the next stop like it was a scheduled pickup. 55. Nothing screams guilty like Googling how to rob a bank and not get caught the night before you rob a bank. Detectives pulled his search history during the investigation and found a step-by-step plan he clearly did not follow. Also in his history, do banks have silent alarms? Yes, sir. Yes, they do. 56. A man broke into a house and decided to take a shower before leaving. He used the homeowner's shampoo, conditioner, and towel, then left wet footprints across the hardwood floor leading directly to the window he climbed out of. Police matched the footprints to a pair of shoes found at his apartment. Cleanliness is next to arrestness. 57. Carjacking someone at a gas station is bad enough, but leaving your own car running at the next pump makes it a trade, not a theft. The victim gave the cops the criminal's plate number, registration, and the half-eaten burrito sitting in his cup holder. DNA from the burrito sealed the deal. Fast food, faster arrest. 58. If you are going to use a disguise, commit to it. A robber painted his face with permanent marker to avoid being recognized. The problem? Permanent means permanent. He couldn't wash it off, and when police found him 2 hours later at a gas station, he still had black streaks all over his face. The mugshot went viral for all the wrong reasons. 59. A thief stole a MacBook and didn't realize the owner had Find My Mac enabled. She tracked the laptop to his apartment, his favorite coffee shop, and eventually his mother's house on Thanksgiving. She handed police a full week of his daily routine before they even knocked on the door. Apple's best feature turned out to be crime solving. 60. Leaving a footprint at a crime scene is common. Leaving a footprint from a shoe so rare that only 12 pairs exist worldwide is a gift to forensics. A sneakerhead burglar wore limited edition Jordans to a break-in, and the unique sole pattern was identified by a detective who happened to be a sneaker collector himself. Takes one to catch one. 61. Stealing from a house with a Ring doorbell is the modern equivalent of smiling for a photo before committing a crime. One package thief walked up, looked directly into the camera, waved, grabbed the box, and strolled away. The homeowner posted the footage on the neighborhood Facebook group. He was identified by his own cousin within an hour. 62. A burglar brought his girlfriend along as a lookout. She got bored waiting in the car and started posting Instagram stories of the neighborhood, accidentally tagging the exact location. Her followers included a guy who lived on that street. He saw the story, looked outside, and called the police. Social media influencer meets criminal accomplice. 63. Using your electricity bill as rolling paper is creative, but not when you leave the evidence behind. A burglar rolled a generic smoke using a piece of his own utility bill, finished half of it inside the house, and left the stub on the windowsill. His account number and address were still legible. Power company, meet police department. 64. A carjacker forced a woman out of her minivan and sped off, not realizing her 6-month-old baby was in the back seat. He panicked, drove to a fire station, and dropped the baby off safely, which was decent of him. But the fire station had security cameras, and his face was captured perfectly. Good heart, terrible planning. 65. Who robs a pet store? This guy did, and the parrot remembered. The bird kept repeating a phrase the robber said during the holdup, and while that alone was not enough for an arrest, the parrot's repetition helped the clerk remember exact details she had forgotten. The bird didn't testify in court, but honestly, it could have. 66. Criminals love walkie-talkies until they realize they are on the same frequency as the local police scanner. Two burglars coordinated their break-in over radio, giving each other real-time updates. The cops heard the entire conversation, including the moment one of them said, "Dude, I think someone's listening." Correct. 67. A man stole a car and drove it for 3 days before getting pulled over for a broken taillight. Standard stuff, except the car belonged to an off-duty police officer who had hidden a backup firearm under the seat with a GPS tracker embedded in the holster. The suspect never checked under the seat. Most people don't. Most people don't steal cop cars either. 68. Spray painting security cameras feels like a power move until you run out of paint halfway through. A burglar blacked out 2 of the 3 cameras in a warehouse, but the third one caught his entire face as he shook the empty can in frustration. The footage showed him looking directly at the lens, realizing his mistake, and then just shrugging and continuing anyway. 69. A thief stole a woman's purse and used her phone to order himself an Uber. The ride was charged to her account, and the app showed the exact pickup and drop-off locations. She opened her Uber app, saw a ride she didn't take, and forwarded the driver's trip details to the police. He was arrested at the drop-off address, which was his own apartment. 70. Breaking into a bakery for the cash register sounds reasonable. Stopping to eat an entire cake does not. A burglar smashed through the back door, grabbed the money, and then sat down and devoured a red velvet cake with his bare hands. He left frosting fingerprints on the counter, the door handle, and the light switch. The sweetest evidence a prosecutor ever presented. 71. One genius mailed a threatening letter demanding money and forgot to peel off the return address label. The victim didn't even open the letter before noticing the sender's full name and address in the top left corner. She handed it to the police, still sealed. The envelope convicted him before the letter inside even got read. 72. Stealing a GPS-equipped delivery truck is a special kind of oversight. A man hijacked a FedEx truck and drove it across 2 counties while the company tracked every turn on a screen at headquarters. They relayed his position to police in real time. He led them on a slow chase that ended in a Walmart parking lot. Package delivered. 73. Wearing a ski mask inside out is not the fashion statement this robber thought it was. The inside of the mask was covered in skin cells, hair, and sweat, giving forensics a buffet of DNA evidence. But the real kicker is that the mask had his initials embroidered on the inside by his grandmother. Nana's love strikes again. 74. A man burglarized a home and grabbed a laptop bag on his way out. What he didn't realize was that the bag also contained the homeowner's AirTag, tucked in a side pocket. The owner tracked the bag across town for 2 days, watching it move from location to location, before handing police a complete map of everywhere the thief had been since Tuesday. 75. Drunk driving is illegal. Drunk driving a stolen forklift through a warehouse wall at 3 in the morning is unforgettable. The forklift got stuck in the wall, the driver couldn't reverse it, and he abandoned it with his jacket still draped over the seat. His work badge was clipped to the jacket. He worked at the warehouse next door. 76. A man stole a bicycle and rode it home, not realizing the owner had just installed a tile tracker under the seat. She followed the signal on her phone, walked 8 blocks, and found her bike locked to a fence outside the thief's house. She took a photo of it next to his mailbox, which had his name on it, and texted everything to the police. 77. Using your victim's Netflix account after stealing their TV is bold. A thief logged in, binge-watched 4 episodes of a true crime series, and created his own user profile with his actual first name. The account owner saw the new profile, checked the viewing history, and handed the IP address to police. He watched a show about getting caught while getting caught. 78. What do you do when you are stuck in a chimney during a burglary? You call 911 on yourself. A man tried the Santa Claus approach, got wedged halfway down, and spent 6 hours screaming before finally dialing emergency services. Firefighters pulled him out covered in soot and humiliation. He literally called the cops on himself because the alternative was dying in a chimney. 79. Stealing mail is a federal offense, but this guy added style points. He stole packages from a porch while wearing a bright orange jumpsuit he had kept from a previous stint in county jail. Multiple neighbors saw him and gave identical descriptions. When cops asked witnesses what the suspect was wearing, every single one said the same thing. Not exactly camouflage. 80. A man robbed a jewelry store and escaped on a motorcycle. Clean getaway, right? Except his custom helmet had his name airbrushed on the back in huge cursive letters. 3 witnesses, 2 security cameras, and 1 traffic cam all captured it perfectly. He might as well have worn a sign that said "Arrest me" in fancy font. 81. Leaving your DNA at a crime scene is bad. Leaving your entire blood sugar monitor is worse. A diabetic burglar left his glucose testing kit behind, complete with his name on the carrying case, and used test strips full of his blood. The medical device did what it was designed to do: identify the patient. Except this time, the patient was the suspect. 82. Butt dialing your mom is embarrassing, but butt dialing 911 is a felony. A burglar put his phone in his back pocket and sat on it while drilling into a safe. The dispatcher listened to 45 minutes of him struggling, swearing, and eventually celebrating his crime, all recorded in high definition for the jury. 83. A bank robber escaped on foot and ducked into a barber shop to hide. He sat down in the chair and asked for a quick haircut to change his appearance. Smart thinking, except the barber recognized him from the news alert that had just popped up on his phone 30 seconds earlier. The barber kept cutting while his coworker quietly called the police. Freshest fade in the county jail. 84. Tossing your weapon into a lake after a crime seems smart until the lake is 3 feet deep and crystal clear. Police waded in and pulled it out within minutes. The serial number was intact, and it was registered to the suspect. He threw away the evidence the same way a toddler hides by covering their own eyes. 85. An arsonist set fire to a building and ran, but his Fitbit recorded a massive spike in heart rate and physical activity at the exact time and location of the fire. Prosecutors subpoenaed his fitness data and presented a graph showing his heart rate going from resting to sprinting at precisely the moment the flames started. His own health goals convicted him. 86. Breaking into a vending machine for the coins inside might be the lowest reward crime on this list. A man pried one open, stuffed his pockets with quarters, and his pants fell down from the weight as he tried to run. Security found him waddling across the parking lot, holding his jeans up with one hand and dropping quarters like a broken slot machine. 87. A thief stole a laptop from a college dorm room and immediately connected it to his home Wi-Fi network. The owner remotely activated the webcam and watched the thief use her computer for 3 straight days. She recorded everything, screenshots and all, then handed police a full dossier including his face, his apartment, and his Netflix preferences. 88. Using a fake ID for a robbery is standard practice. Using a fake ID that still has your real address on it defeats the entire purpose. A convenience store robber flashed a bogus driver's license at the clerk to buy cigarettes before announcing the robbery. The clerk memorized the address on the fake ID. It was his actual home. The fake part was just the name. 89. Irony has a twisted sense of humor. A man robbed a donut shop, jumped over the counter to escape, and slipped on a freshly glazed donut on the floor. He knocked himself out cold. Police found him unconscious, surrounded by sprinkles and shame. The donut was taken into evidence as a hero. 90. Robbing a house while wearing your company polo is already a terrible idea. But this genius also drove the company van, which had the business name, phone number, and logo plastered across both sides. A neighbor wrote down the number, called it, and the receptionist cheerfully confirmed the employee's name and schedule. Customer service at its finest. 91. Hide-and-seek champion of the world, this guy was not. After robbing a gas station, a man hid inside a dumpster behind the building. Solid plan until the garbage truck arrived on schedule 15 minutes later. The driver heard screaming from inside, stopped the compactor, and called police. The trash literally took itself out. 92. A purse snatcher grabbed a woman's bag and sprinted through a park, not knowing she was a marathon runner. She chased him for 6 blocks while calling 911 on her smartwatch. He finally collapsed from exhaustion, and she stood over him, barely winded, giving the dispatcher his exact description in real time. He picked the wrong target by about 26 miles. 93. Vanity kills. A robber took a mirror selfie in the victim's bathroom after the heist, wearing stolen jewelry and holding stacks of cash. He posted it on Snapchat with the caption, "Easy money." The victim's daughter saw the post through a mutual friend and forwarded it to police. The screenshot had a timestamp, location tag, and his username. 94. Stealing a car with a dash cam running is like hiring a documentary crew for your own crime. The camera recorded the thief's face when he sat down, his voice when he made a phone call, and his destination when he parked. The owner downloaded the footage remotely and handed police a 20-minute film. No director's cut needed. 95. A burglar tripped a silent alarm and had about 4 minutes before the cops arrived. Instead of running, he spent those 4 minutes trying to disconnect the home theater system because he really wanted the surround sound speakers. Officers walked in to find him on his knees behind the TV, tangled in HDMI cables, still trying to unplug the subwoofer. 96. Robbing a convenience store and then walking next door to buy a scratch-off with the stolen cash is bold even by Florida standards. The clerk next door recognized the bills because they had the same dye pack stain. She called the cops while he stood there scratching his ticket, completely unaware his hands were bright red. 97. A thief broke into a car, stole a bag from the back seat, and didn't check the contents. Turns out the bag belonged to a forensic scientist and contained evidence collection kits, rubber gloves, and DNA swabs. His fingerprints were all over the bag. A forensic scientist's tools caught a criminal without the scientist even being involved. 98. If you steal a camera, check the memory card before selling it. A thief stole a high-end DSLR, took selfies and photos of his own apartment to test it, and then pawned it without deleting anything. The pawn shop owner checked the digital files, saw the thief's face, and called the cops. He framed himself perfectly. 99. A burglar climbed a fence to escape and left a piece of his jacket snagged on the barbed wire. Not a big deal, right? Except his wallet was in that jacket pocket. It hung there on the fence like a flag of surrender until a patrol officer spotted it the next morning. His ID was flapping in the breeze like it was waving hello. 100. How do you get caught for a crime no one saw you commit? You brag about it at a bar, loudly, sitting next to an off-duty cop. A man described his entire burglary in vivid detail to his friend over beers, while a detective 2 stools down quietly typed every word into his phone. The arrest happened in the parking lot before he even closed his tab. And finally, the crown jewel of criminal stupidity. A man robbed a house, loaded everything into his car, drove home, and then realized he left his phone at the scene. So he did what any reasonable person would do. He drove back. The homeowners had already returned, saw him pull up, and watched in disbelief as he knocked on the door and politely asked if they had seen his phone. They had. So had the police. They were already inside, holding his phone, waiting for exactly this moment. You just cannot write stuff like this. Except apparently, you can, because it actually happened. Honesty Hour in the comments. If you were one of these criminals, which mistake would you be most likely to make? Would you stop for a snack mid-heist? Or would you check your Facebook? Tell on yourself below. Like the video to keep your record clean and subscribe so you don't miss the next one.